We already see that people don't get to our website to consume our blogs. They read things in feed, email and cold email blasting as the first one that we should get rid of. One thing that is killing us is the way we align marketing KPI with sales.
Welcome to Affinia, a community of thousands of cybersecurity executives and vendors. In this show, we interview senior go-to-market leaders to find new actionable tactics, insightful tips, and best strategies. For more information, check out affinia.com. And now, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today as we begin.
Thank you for having me, Misha.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. It's great to continue the conversation we started at Cybersecurity Marketing Conference. But for the listeners, can you say a few words about where you now, what have you been up to? Where are you now?
Yeah, so thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be with other marketeers and be able to share it with the cybersecurity society and community. For the last few years, I've been CMO of different cybersecurity startup. My last gig was at Dig Security. It's a data security platform, DSPM, which was recently acquired by Palo Alto Network. So there was a very relatively short stint, but a very successful outcome, I would say. Before that, I was the CMO at Hunters. Prior to that, I was at Cybereason, I was at Rapid7, and I also was a marketing leader in a few non-security companies, data company called Tamer, and some others. But most of my tenure was leading marketing in different cybersecurity startups.
I see. So what is your secret? How can you get in 8 months from beginning in the role to an acquisition? There must be some sort of magic pixie dust that you
Well, I wish. I wish, because then every company would have been bought. I mean, we all know it. Sometimes startups is a roll of a dice. It's timing, it's product, it's founders, it's a combination and where the market is. And sometimes it works and sometimes not. So I cannot say that I have any magic. It's not a Midas touch and not anything. It's sometimes it happens and we're lucky, and sometimes it doesn't. I've been for more than 4 years at Cybereason. Excellent run over there. I was the first marketeer to join. The company was 23 people out of stealth mode, and I was with them all the way till after Series D. The company grew, and it was an amazing ride. But still, the company still up today didn't IPO, still in the market out there. But so I want to say part of our ride is being in some more successful rides, being in some that are not as successful, and learning from each of those experiences. So if anything, I can tell you, I just learned from every of those companies and every of those roles that I've been to, and I try to apply it to the next job. Being in an early stage, a relatively early stage, and into the growth stage of startups makes you realize what's working, what's not working, what you did right, what you did wrong, where did you spend money in the right way, what completely failed. So I think I kind of like every place I go, I try to take the playbook, but also completely rewrite it in the next place. And that probably helped, but to be honest, as I said, it's not me, it's everything in the recipe.
Like, you're way too modest. I would just take the credit. I came, I conquered, I sold.
Vini, vidi, vici.
Exactly right. That's awesome. And so you have such a range of experience, from 20-person startup to unicorn. I mean, Cybereason was a unicorn, to now Palo Alto, publicly traded company. What is your sweet spot? Because the playbook conceptually is similar. You have go-to-market motion, however different it may be maybe channel, maybe direct, but fundamentally it's the same customer journey, sales funnel. Some of the concepts are similar, but what's your sweet spot? What's your favorite stage, so to speak?
So I look less at the stage and more at the market opportunity and what is the company doing, and then being able to apply depending on what stage it is. Let me explain. I like to come to industries that are now being disrupted. For example, when I joined Cybereason, there was just antivirus in the market. Cybereason was part of this new group of companies reinventing how you defend endpoints, what has become EDR. We were part of category creation together with CrowdStrike at the time, Silence, and Carbon Black. Sentinel-1 didn't even exist at the time. And we created the category. We explained to the market what are the new threats that antivirus cannot solve, what type of technology you need to be able to deal with things that are attacks that are not signature-based, educated the market about this new threat and how you should be thinking and dealing with that and why the technology fits. Move forward, hunters. It is about completely revolutionizing the world of SIM, taking this old category of SIM and completely disrupting it with a new model where the data resides in a regular Snowflake or Databricks, and then you apply analytics. You save cost, you save human beings, and the way people think about SIM is completely reinvented. Same with cloud-based data security at Dig. It is a traditional category of data security owned by Big ID, Varonis, then being completely disrupted by cloud vendors, by this notion of how do you protect data in a multi-cloud hybrid environment on-prem. So I like coming in to those areas when there is a disruption in the market, which happens so often in cybersecurity because the market moves with new inventions. Now, for example, coming AI, you need to solve the security problems, which are kind of like the same problem that evolves and move into the new category that you need to defend. And you need to have a new category, either completely new or an evolution of an existing category being redefined. So to sum up your point, I like to get into places when I can educate the market about a new problem and offer them a technical solution to that. Traditionally, that means earlier stage startups because they're the ones to come and innovate the market. But sometimes it comes from the bigger guys. So it depends. But that's my sweet spot. Category creation, understanding market dynamics, telling the story to the market of the new technological innovation that you need to bring in to help you defend against the things that are now emerging.
It's interesting. So it's not so much stage specific as opportunity specific.
Yeah.
And opportunity is defined by things in motion. There's a challenger and there's an incumbent and there's a category to be created and a story to be told. That's interesting because I think a lot of people, well, I like to go 0 to 1, or I like to go 1 to 10, or I like to go to IPO. So it's actually, you are more opportunity specific than stage specific.
I'm a PM. I grew up in product marketing. I am a PMM in kind of like my background, my training. So I kind of like seeing the market opportunity, the market definition, the technology, the sales opportunity, and this. And then, yes, of course, when you think about demand gen, tactics, what is the playbook, what are the things that you will actually be employing in the market, obviously the stage of the company matters. It's the resource that you have behind you. Very different when you are like two co-founders and few people in R&D and you come and start marketing by yourself versus a company that is into growth, phase, pre-IPO, that you can build a full team to handle all the multiple aspects of marketing. So this is different, but like if I need to step in, I start with the market opportunity and the story that I'm going to tell as a marketing leader.
For sure, for sure. And speaking of that, where do you see opportunity now?
Oh, so definitely, and we see now it mushrooming with a lot of companies coming out of stealth. I think LLMs, AI security will be a huge opportunity, just because we all understand that unlike the cloud, that it took a while for corporates to incorporate the new technology, and they managed to take the time until the sense of urgency created by the pandemic that actually pushed them off the cliff and made everyone go into the cloud and make the cloud ubiquitous. With LLMs, what I am thinking is that companies will not wait. We see the push to go innovate and incorporate this in every industry we're talking with. I've been talking with CISOs. All of them are currently being tasked in figuring out how they can safely, securely, with the right privacy, incorporate it ASAP in the workflows across the enterprise. And with that, it is clear that there are so many opportunities here, from data governance, the models, protecting the models, privacy, security, compliance, visibility, to so much. So it is like a full new world of all the categories we know in cybersecurity that is going to be built. And that's why there is funding there. We see companies coming out of stealth. So I think this is one. I think application security, similarly, is still not solved. It's one of the hardest problems in cyber. Still very much, to be determined how to solve it. I think fractions of it are already established and solved. It's amazing to see Snyk is about to IPO. That's what the rumors in the market are saying now. So like we're having one big winner. There is place for more. So I think that's another area. And we will see more growth in the cloud for sure. I mean, cloud is not going anywhere. We will see more categories, but we see that there are big winners in the cloud already. So it's interesting. That the amazing thing about our industry, that every 5 years you have complete displacement and new trends. Never a dull moment. I love it.
Well, it's certainly never a dull, and I think you're absolutely right. I mean, AI is so top of mind for everyone, and most definitely it will reshape the world of CISOs.
Yes.
The world of cybersecurity companies. We see attacks enabled by AI already, whether it's phishing attacks or deep fakes or what have you.
Yes.
But I think it would also reshape the world of cybersecurity marketers.
Absolutely.
And I'm just wondering, in that particular aspect, how would cybersecurity marketing evolve, change, adopt with that new technology? Again, some of them are probably early, some of them are not fully baked, but where do you see the market as going in terms of whether it's content generation, or how do you think it's going to be adopted?
This show is brought to you by Athenia, where we host one-on-one virtual executive briefings between cybersecurity subject matter experts like yourself and thousands of CISOs in our community. To host a briefing of your own, go to Athenia.com and click sign up, or click the link in the show notes. Now, back to the show.
I really love the fact that it can enable us to do more with less when needed. Like it's already helping us, write content. I don't think any of us will just let ChatGPT write our one pages or our websites, but it is helping us to, become more creative, scale up our ability to create more interesting content that is more targeted, have, different variations to different target audiences at scale. So with that, I think it's a great tool. obviously more tools will emerge, and we are just in the first inning of it. We don't know what will happen, but I see a lot of things evolving. I think things that we invested heavily will need to be rethink of, things like SEO. A year from now, SEO will be completely different than what we think of today, or the way we used to do SEO. You need to think about your content being consumed and trained by LLM models, and no longer, the regular page ranking by Google. I don't know what's going to be the new model. For sure, LLM models will have a way of ranking, but we already see that people don't get to our website to consume our blogs. They read things in feed. They use ChatGPT to ask questions, get answers, and they don't click further. They will just read it in ChatGPT. So we all need to be able to evolve and think about the traditional tools that we've been using to promote our companies, to get our content out, to distribute our content. This world is going to be changing. We still don't know how, but there is a rapid evolution. I've been talking with people that have seen the decline in effectiveness of SEO in the past 6 months, for example, due to people just searching in ChatGPT, not clicking on any links, not getting into people's websites. So something to think about it. It's just one out of many other changes that we will see.
And thank you so much for sharing this. And speaking of changes, what you're just saying, it kind of dovetails with the session that I really enjoyed at the conference, where you said something very interesting. You said, let me address the elephant in the room. A lot of marketing programs are no longer working as they worked previously. Yeah. And you mentioned changes in SEO is some of the examples of that. And what are other examples? Because I'm hearing a lot of things too, specifically email outreach. The response rates, the open rates are declining. There's a new change that's coming from Google and Yahoo. They're going to very drastically reshape how they make deliverability decisions.
Yes.
Mostly in B2C now, but it's really clear that that's where the wind is blowing, and I think that it will, in the end of the day, will impact B2B as well. But when you mentioned that this elephant in the room, SEO, what other aspects of marketing programs as they relate to cybersecurity do you see not performing now at the same rate as, I know, a year ago, a couple of years ago?
Well, I would put email and cold email blasting as the first one that we should get rid of. I know people swear by it. I want to say this is not right. We should not, spread spam emails to thousands of people. That's a great way to be very soon blocked out of your domain. And don't go and hack it by creating additional domains. If it's not legit to do it from your own domain, why do you want to spam from an alternate domain? I think we are doing things that if you stop and ask yourself, do I, as a customer, want to be getting this type of marketing? If you say no, don't do it to your customer. They're smarter than me. I don't want to do it to them if I don't want to get this type of marketing myself. So the first thing that I think needs to stop is cold emailing. Cold outreach is not respectful unless, you know what? No, unless. Don't do those things. Get to know your prospect. Reach out to them. I think us trying to do volume instead of adding value, especially when we're thinking about selling to the C-suite, is not respectful for our audience. Our audience don't buy from a random SDR that reach out to them with, a cold email using an outreach sequence. No, it's a great way to be blocked as a spammer. So I think it's not just not effective. It jeopardizes your brand reputation. So that's one thing that I believe should stop. It's not effective. It's not working. Instead, make sure you have great content. You put yourself on social channels and use paid media to be in front of your buyer and educate them about the problem and why your solution is the best for the problem. That's the alternative, not cold blasting, but, educating. And, it takes time. I understand people want immediate results, but there is no way to get immediate results when you sell a security platform that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's face it, expectations should be aligned to what we're selling and how hard it is to sell it. So that's one thing I think should be stopping. I think one thing that is killing us is the way we align marketing KPI with sales. I think having lead goals, MQL goals, SQL goals that are not necessarily aligned to pipeline is killing us. It's killing our reputation within a sales organization, and it's not creating the right focus on actually creating business. I would advocate for a change that marketing assign themselves for KPIs of meaningful business discussion created by marketing with the right persona and in the right ICP. Some people will say that's SQL. Okay, whatever your definition is. But all I want to know is how many conversations that are meaningful were created thanks to marketing programs or were helped to be created thanks to some marketing efforts, and what's the conversion rate from those efforts. So I think enough with email collection, just leads. Those are people with not buying intention. We need to focus on broadly advocating for the problem, educating for the need, educating about how a solution is good, and then seeing how this leads to meaningful conversations. That is it. Just bringing random emails of people that don't have an intent to buy is not good enough.
For sure. And so, and if kind of broadly, if you think of the role of marketing as creating demand by educating about the problem, and then meeting sales at the intent line where someone is showing intent and helping sales convert this intent into an opportunity and down the line into a client, creates incentives that align both sales and marketing rather than just creating MQLs that don't really mean anything and don't really convert. They're just trying to put more water in the leaky bucket and calling it a result. It's certainly not productive. I want to double click on something that I thought was really interesting. I'm old enough to remember the time when email just first arrived, and it was such a novelty, and the response rates were 100%.
Of course.
It was such a new thing, and it was people still figuring out what to do. I think now, to your point, it's certainly not working. But what's interesting, what that showed is that any kind of new channel, novel channel with high effectiveness eventually will get flooded with messaging, and effectiveness will go down. So is really the real question is, if SEO is changing with ChatGPT, with people not clicking on links, if email marketing is changing with more stringent rules around spam, and with really very little tolerance on the C-level executives and opening emails from people that don't know, you're suggesting that to educate the market who are upstream in their journey, who are not ready to go to the website and schedule a demo, you obviously want to educate them by marketing effectively through paid with paid marketing, getting your messaging about the problem. But wouldn't other marketers be squeezed out of SEO, squeezed out of email marketing, and all flood into paid advertising, making this channel so A, expensive, and B, less effective? And what's your take on that? And are there other channels, other ways to engage? As you said, I really love it. It's going to be a quote, value instead of volume. I think it's really cool. How to offer this value to people who don't necessarily know you, not fully aware of the problem. They're qualified by their title, by their company, but they're so early in their journey that they're just so busy focusing on 1, 2, 3 things that your problem may not be part of that set. What other ways to engage other than paid advertising you think can replace SEO and email, and some of the ways that cybersecurity marketers can lean on to compensate for this drop in effectiveness from those first 2 channels that obviously were fairly prevalent?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's for each one of us to figure out which channel is working today and not just stick to whatever we did in the past. So again, no recipe. I'm still figuring it out. But I have a sense of what people are doing and what is working. First, people move to video content. We're doing that now. Podcast, video, longer form, deep conversations in which you can cut them into shorter snippets of highlights to give sound bites to attract people, to give them the idea, and use that for paid advertising in front of them. Which channels? It depends on your persona. It could be on YouTube. It could be on LinkedIn. It could be on Reddit. It could be, depending on where your audience is, you need to figure out. But in general, video content and long format that could be reformatted into shorter pieces of content, and you can think about it, you can use it. Then once you establish relationship, then you can email a person, a link to a podcast. How about that? We all need to create content that goes viral, not viral in the way of being catchy and having some sensational thing, but in the idea of dark social, people sharing with each other insights on channels like Slack, in the work environment, and with their peers, the WhatsApp group, Signal groups, wherever they are, because they want to learn about something. So I think we need to move from just thinking about the content distribution channel. We need to step back and think about our content creation platform that can then be truncated and used in multiple channels. Same thing, I think about how we think about events in field. We all tend to go to RSA and Black Hat and be on the show floor and scan the same people that everybody scan and bring the same swag that every company has. How many socks do people have? It feels like, I'm not saying no, I'm there. I mean, we all know, but we all know that we're not getting the most meaningful conversations. We get maybe a handful in the show floor, but the really meaningful conversations are those that we scheduled in advance in the suite, or in the small events that we already kind of managed our partners to come in. I see way more value in smaller engagement with people. We've been doing a lot of those CISO dinners. I know that a lot of companies are doing them, and now it's harder to fill up the room in CISO dinners because of everybody understanding. Those are opportunities for more meaningful engagement, time to interact and educate about a problem that you typically don't have in the zoo of the show floor at RSA conference when it's so loud. You know, your brand, especially if you're a startup, your brand cannot shine. You're part of 1,000 other vendors. So again, even when you're doing field, think about how you are different. Where do you get an opportunity to actually interact? Think about this. I think we marketeers are doing the easy thing of just paying our way out, you know, doing the same playbook. Instead of trying something else, find a way to engage.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that because actually I don't know how big of a trend it is, but I notice on LinkedIn this idea of an event, for lack of a better term. So instead of a conference, create a retreat. So instead of being in the room, sitting down and listening to one person presenting and tuning out, checking your Instagram page and responding to email, organize a retreat where you are at a winery in Napa, mixing a bike ride, a physical activity with wine tasting, with a thoughtful presentation, and also, I know whether it's if yoga is up the alley for your attendees. So it's immersive. To your point, it's you have undivided attention. People are not distracted by 5,000 vendors, and it's I see a lot of moving into that instead of presentation at a dinner. It's more of an experience, whether it's making something or even tasting. So it's addresses like different senses. I see a lot of people experimenting in that, and I'm very curious about that because it seems like it shows the fatigue from the mainstream events and showing desire and the budget from B2B players to create something that's more meaningful and less volume, more value, as you said.
Absolutely. I think that's the trend. It's about connecting, creating trust, building trust, especially early stage companies. I mean, we are asking the vendors to not trust, a Microsoft and instead buy us. They already have, ELA, an umbrella agreement with Microsoft, and we tell them, add to that an agreement with us, little startup that you never heard of before. To build this trust, we need to be with them, explain to them what's the value, why. It takes time. You need to have patience. I think those kind of experience that you're talking about create a much better opportunity for engagement between early stage startups, the story, the values, the people that are in there, so that the CISO that is actually getting to buy it, see who the company is, see what they do. Yes, they're having great time and meeting also with their colleagues and learning. I think there is way more openness to engage with the company doing that than to just come through, get a leaflet, and move on. I think this is important. I think it's also important to make sure your current customers are in the room, in the experience, because they are your biggest advocates. I mean, at the end of the day, just putting them on a video testimonial that it's clear that it's so different than they're just coming to the room and telling about the experience of working with you and what's the good things, and also saying the truth about the things that doesn't work and that they want to improve in your platform. I think that's important.
It's such a good point because your customers are your often best ambassadors, and not leveraging that, I think it could be a wasted opportunity. Lital, I know we're coming up on time. I have this question. I kind of know the answer a little bit, but I'm curious about your perspective. There is some magic in Silicon Valley that so many countries try to recreate this combination of, I know, Stanford as this educational institution and the network of VCs. And it seems like so many companies, technology companies coming out of Silicon Valley. I think Israel is that story in cybersecurity. There are so many companies, from very promising, rapidly growing startups and unicorns, public companies, came from Israel, and it's obviously Israel is punching above its weight in terms of economy size, in terms of population, than just about anyone else. What's the secret sauce? I'm going back to the secret sauce. I have my view on this, and from just conversations that I had, but I'm very curious about your perspective.
I think there are multiple things. First and foremost, let's not forget there is the military in Israel, and specifically Unit 8200, which is like the equivalent of the NSA. The fact that from this unit, people come out relatively early in their career after learning a lot about cybersecurity, experiencing both defensive and offensive cybersecurity, unlike the lifelong career that somebody will have at the NSA. When you are in Israel, you're doing your military service. I did it at the age of 18. You learn a ton, and then you come out of it sometimes around the age of 21 all the way to 25, 26 if you stayed for longer and you've been an officer, but you still have the time to build a career with everything you learn. And Israel actually encouraged you to take the knowledge. So that's one, it's like the hotbed of innovation and knowledge about the latest nation grade attacks. So not the level of hacktivism and stuff, but actually being exposed to nation level capabilities. So that's one thing. Then around that, there is this industry. I think the first one to build it was Checkpoint and Gil Schwade, later to be followed by Nir Zook and Palo Alto Network and others. That there is already an established pedigree of companies, CyberArk as well, others that grew out of this background and succeeded. And now the second and third great generation of those that worked in those companies saw success, managed to IPO, managed to go through, and now they're kind of building their own companies. There is a very successful VC network that some of them just focus on Israeli cybersecurity companies like YL Ventures, Teammate that has specific interest in that, Cyberstart, and also big presence of US-based VC funds that invest in it, that helps. So I think we are now seeing the third, maybe the fourth generation of companies coming out of this success, with people that already sold their companies once, like the founders of Wiz, and then created the next unicorns. So this is the thing. It's just evolving.
It's interesting because what you mentioned, it's very similar to the components of the Silicon Valley magic. Is just
absolutely.
It's just in Israel and specifically in cybersecurity. For example, people talk about PayPal mafia with all those alumni of PayPal that went on to create amazing things, and I'm sure there is a Palo Alto mafia and Checkpoint mafia where people who work there or investors there, they create this ecosystem that just it's kind of compounds on itself and grows. I think yours explanation is way better than I had. I only had this the NSA type unit that a lot of founders came from, but your answer is way better. Lital, I know we're coming up on time. I just want to. You have a podcast of your own. Can we include it?
I do.
Can you talk a little bit about it?
So my husband, like me, is in cybersecurity as well. While I'm a marketeer, he's on the engineering side. And, after many years of us having dinner conversations about startups, cybersecurity, technology, we decided we should take it and make it into a podcast. And very simply, it's called the Didi and Lital Show. He's Didi, I'm Lital. It's a weekly podcast. We discuss a lot of topics about cybersecurity, marketing, startups, trends, and also some other topics. we're just coming out of a big strike of the teachers union in our
I saw
town.
that. I saw
That
that
was
your daughter was
the last.
presenting.
Yeah. I use my media training to now become the become
spokesperson.
the spokesperson of the parents in my town. So that's another aspect of life. But funny enough, if anyone wants to check it out, check the Didi and Lital show wherever you get your podcast.
We'll include it. We'll include it in the show notes for sure. And thank you for sharing. And where can people find more about you? Are you on LinkedIn?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, very active on LinkedIn. So please connect. Please send me your notes. If you want to be on our podcast, text me. I'll be happy to include you. So mostly LinkedIn. This is where we spend our days.
Well, you and me both. Lital, thank you so much for your time. This was lots of fun. This was amazing. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Misha, and thanks everyone.